Peace, it's Emily Imani. So I'm going to talk about twerking. I got a request to talk about twerking, and I was so excited that I went and my first day off, I made a video about twerking. I'm actually redoing it today because I had some time to let it marinate and think about it. And I actually want to do it from a more feminine perspective and a softer perspective because I feel it's a little bit harsh. And being a dancer myself, I just want to make sure that I'm not judging anybody because I don't personally care to be judged. However, I do welcome judgment because judgment leads to conversation. Okay, and I couldn't find anybody who twerks to ask them or talk to them, so I'm gonna go with doing this as a overview. And it's a really interesting topic if you're interested in spirituality, culture, sensuality, and sexuality, and where we are right now. So I want to start off talking about some of the really amazing things about twerking. In that it's very feminine, it's very beautiful, and it can be very sensuous. Along the lines of anything else from juggling to cooking or writing, is that everybody is not the best. So whenever you have an art form, you, everybody is not going to be the best at it. So, and the thing with the internet is that when something becomes a trend, you see all variations of skill level and style. But the thing about twerking that makes it really special for us, I believe, is that it is part of our Africanness. Even for people who don't relate to themselves as being African or don't follow their own ancestral lineage back to Africa, that's a reality when you look at the cultures that we come from. So one of the interesting aspects about twerking that's really special to us is the rhythm and one, the muscle isolation that it takes to have the muscle, but at the same time, which is very, very unique to black women, is to have that muscle tone and the ability to isolate and to syncopath those isolations and make them intricate, but also to have the right amount of fat so that while the muscles are doing their thing, the fat is vibrating and doing its thing. And that's really, it could be very sensuous. And that's, I think, an offering that black women have in particular that other women don't, because anybody can truly study and learn any dance move, the mechanics of it. But the interesting thing about twerking originally is that it's something for the black woman's body, that the black woman's body could do. And to me, it's part of our African mystery, the muscle and the fat and the toning. How do you have fat on your butt yet have a small waist? How do you get that shape? How do you have those muscles yet still have enough bounce? And that's just something that we do. It's something that we can do. So that makes twerking sensuous and really special to us and special to our men in particular because they're familiar with those type of movements because they've seen it before. They've seen it in the bedroom, right? So in essence, like all these sex tapes that are coming out with a lot of our colored, our black stars, our people of color, whatever you want to call them, all these sex tapes are coming out now. It's like, can we get some privacy around what our bodies look like in the bedroom? Can we have just a little privacy? But the problem is we're volunteering a lot. We're doing voluntary exploitation. But that's understandable because I also had to look at various renaissances of arts and how even right up into the 70s and 80s, there's always been these humongous renaissances of black women artists, major dancers, major poets, major writers. And I want you to actually Google African American women writers, African American women dancers and artists, because you're going to see this humongous history of us doing these amazing creative things. And all of a sudden, kind of the doors have closed. So we've been a creative people, whether it's hair braiding and to making baskets, to our cooking. We used to sew and make clothes and do all these things. So when our creativity is stifled and there doesn't seem to be a place to release it, I think you're going to see us, those of us that have to do something, doing something. And sometimes it's not a good thing, sometimes it's not a bad thing. Twerking, I would say, is something that happens when a lot of other avenues are closed. And this happened when the small bookstores started closing down, when big corporations started taking over arts in general, from music and hip hop to movies to books. You know, they're telling you what a top 40 book is before it's even released. How can it be a bestseller if it's not even for sale yet? But we have to understand the way all these industries work has nothing to do with what the public wants. Exactly. Has much more to do with what the corporations want to sell and give us. And therefore we take it because it's being dolled out to us. That's really where the arts are right now. So I can understand how twerking would spring up at a time like this when the arts is kind of closed down. We have a lot of pent up creativity within us. We also have a lot of pent up sensuality and sexuality within us. The whole aspect of marriage and long term relationships has really, in America itself, has been removed, except we have the new gay marriage coming out. But as far as heterosexual marriage, that's not popular anymore. So you have women that want to master womanly arts of dance and sensuality and sexuality and finding themselves, but they don't have a man to share it with that's worth sharing it with, because womanly arts traditionally have always been a part of maintaining marriage. They weren't just done for fun. So as you probably heard, there's the I can't remember exactly what it's called, Mapuko dance. It's often seen in Central Africa now, but those dances are common throughout Africa and actually throughout history. But the story of that dance was that young ladies did that dance, and women who had sons who were of age to be married would come and watch the young ladies dance and pop their butt. It's like twerking, but it's even more intense because they're really more, it's cultural and everybody has that body. Okay, so when everybody has that body, then you really learn to use it in a different way, and it's not just used to be overly sexual. It's just who you are. Okay, it's so hard in our culture here in America to grasp that. We see everything sexually. That's why a lot of women are not comfortable breastfeeding in certain environments, because half the guys are looking at it as drooling. So we don't want to. But if you're in a different environment where everybody around you looks like you shares the same culture, you might be more comfortable breastfeeding in front of people. I wouldn't be comfortable because I don't want no pervert looking at me while I'm breastfeeding. I'm very sensitive about that. But here we are in America, where us being sensual and sexual is seen as a commodity. It's not seen as just, this is part of your culture. If you want to maintain a marriage, then you're going to have to bring some of these womanly arts to the marriage table. And one of those common womanly arts throughout history in a lot of different cultures, in a lot of different brown cultures, from Native American to East Indian to the Polynesian Islands, all those cultures, womanly arts, women being able to dance, sing, cook, maybe play an instrument, write poetry that they could share with their man, all those things were taught to females so that they could bring that into the marriage for all the things that the man was going to bring into the marriage. So we continue to have a vestige, we continue to have that in our DNA, but we don't have a culture. So what we have is ourselves here in a land of no culture. Okay. And the other thing I want to talk about is when you take culture and turn it into art, and then it turns from art into entertainment. So you can look at African dance, because African dance, which is really what we're talking about, African dance traditionally is done as part of rituals. It's part of the culture. It's done to heal mental illness. It's done to positively affect changes, whether it's a bad season in the crops, whether prosperity is needed to flourish, whether there's a war coming on, whether there's, or a celebration of a wedding. The dance. And you can look at Native American dance, where they have rain dances or dances, before war, before the men go off to war, there's dance. When people go through rites of passage in life, there's dance. So dance is a ritual, it's a tradition, it has an intention, okay? All cultural dance was not done to entertain people, it was done to create change. It was done for a reason. So that was dance when it's culture. But what happens is outsiders come and they see that dance, and they see the women, you could be in the Polynesian Islands with the grass skirts doing their dance. You could go to Africa and see the beautiful women dressed and bejeweled, and all the women, all the young girls dancing, or the young men dancing, whatever. And these outsiders came and saw it and was like, wow, this is pretty amazing. I surely can't do that. So what happened is, not only did they want to watch our culture and watch our dance and turn it into art, and paid for it, but they also kind of wanted to imitate it and take it and ultimately take the spirit. That's why when they took Africans and enslaved them, one of their first goals was to break that enslaved person's spirit, because our spirit was so strong, and it's something that I can understand. If you don't have it, you would want it. So dance went that way. It was culture. It was done for a reason. Then it became art because you had outsiders observing, and ooh, my, I like that. It's interesting when you look at Europeans and they have all this artwork from all the dynasties and all the different cultures that they've colonized. I find it very interesting that they would colonize and murder a bunch of people and then take those people's artwork and hang it up on their walls and continue to collect their artwork in their museums. Because if you don't like somebody, why would you want their art? But clearly, they were envious and very interested in our art, and dance is the same way. Okay, so it went from being culture, it became art. Art is something that's a commodity, it's sold for money. And you can look at hip hop. Hip hop went the same route. It started out with the b-boys, breakdancing, human beatbox, all kind of stuff was happening, but people weren't doing it for money. People were doing it for culture, as a way to express themselves with an intention. You have to understand, as a people, we communicate not just with language. We've always communicated with body, whether it's high five, dance, body language, facial expressions. We have all hand jive, handshakes. We have all these intricate handshakes. I was really surprised to find out that a lot of the intricate handshakes that I saw here, that my dance teacher from Ghana showed me the same thing. And I'm thinking, wow, these things we are African. Came from Africa. We still have the vestige of all the same culture within us. We do it, but we're losing the container of culture, and Africa has too. I'm not putting them on a pedestal, because they certainly took a lot of their culture and turned it into art, turned it into a commodity to be sold, and now it's become entertainment. So I'm saying hip-hop too started out as a cultural expression. It became art. It became a commodity that could be sold for money. And at this point, hip-hop has totally become nothing but, well, I'll call it rap, because people are going to correct me and say, no, rap is the bad thing. Hip-hop is true to the culture. So I'll say that rap has become entertainment at this point. And now it's not only entertainment, as the real Freeway Rick Ross, the drug dealer who's now trying to do things right or whatever. I don't know what he's doing, but he did say one thing that I certainly agree, is that hip-hop has been weaponized. So now not only is it entertainment, but it's a vehicle to carry some really negative messages onto our newest and youngest generations about how to sell drugs, about how to pimp girls, about how to shoot and be violent and kill each other. So hip-hop, it started, I'll take it back to Africa, because you understand West Africa had the same thing. They had the drum beats, and they had somebody talking musically over the drum beats, and those were the griots. But what the griots did was, what they did when they talked was they praised somebody. They said everything great about this person, his family is great, and all this person's accomplishments. So that's what the griot did, is he raised up the esteem. And it's interesting now, because we come to this point where we have hip-hop, where hip-hop has totally become a vehicle for putting down other people, saying you're a hater, you ain't got all the cars that I have, you don't have, you can't drink what I can afford to drink. I mean, hip-hop has become such a negative vehicle. And so you look at it, it's the same as dance. It started out way back here as culture, became art, became a commodity, was sold, turned into entertainment. And now somebody else has come in and said, we can use that as a way to get to these people. We can program these people. We can sell our products. Because it started off, hip-hop was talking about drinking 40 ounces. And so everybody went out and bought 40s that wasn't already drinking that, because we were already drinking it. That was back when the music was actually saying what was happening, but it changed. So they realized, oh, we can actually sell products through their music. So how about, let's try gin and juice. Oh, let's try Patron. Let's do Ciroc. So whatever alcohol, liquor they want to sell, they just get a rapper to talk about it, and everybody goes out and buys it at the club, because they know we're followers at this point, So what I want to say is, getting back to understanding we are the guardians of our culture. Wake up, because when we don't wake up, we tend to follow. We're being used. Our culture is being twisted around and turned upside down and twisted and aborted and shredded to pieces and used, coming back in this new form that they've created, and being used as a way to influence us mentally. It actually affects what we change. If you listen to a certain song, you're going to go into the store or to the bar and order a certain drink. Or if you got a problem with somebody, you're going to listen to some music and you're going to get yourself ready to go shoot them because you keep hearing it in the music, and that makes it okay. And if the beat is good and you're nodding your head to it, well, nodding your head is an affirmative action. So when you listen to something and you're nodding your head, your body is accepting it. Yes, yes, shoot, kill, drink, smoke, blunt, whatever's in the music, it comes into us. And another thing to bring it back to twerking is hip hop actually played a pretty big role in bringing about the twerking, because hip hop started off referring to women as ladies. And then we had all the I ain't the one and pussy ain't nothing but a hole in the wall, and it just got worse and worse. And then there was this whole phase where hip hop really started to promote strippers and going and encouraging young guys to go get their girls to go dance in the strip club so their girl could go make money. So this whole stripper thing was promoted. And at this point, it's gone even further to is now hip hop is now really promoting the young guys to try to prostitute their own girlfriends. So it's gone from us being brought here from Africa as slaves and being sold by other people to us now, our music promoting selling our own girls. Never before have black men been like, I'm going to sell my girlfriend for sex, for a little bit of money. That's totally not part of our culture. People don't understand our African culture, and our culture here in America has always been fairly conservative about stuff like that. So where we are now, we really need to get it back together because it's gone out of control. Basically, let other people create our culture for us. I think that twerking is just one of the many babies that was born from other people imposing their culture on us. Whereas we have these needs to express ourselves, whereas we are very sexy and sensuous, whereas our bodies do move a certain way. I mean, a black woman can walk down the street and she's just walking, but her body could be doing its own work of art. Her hips going side to side. And we know when black men have sex with a black woman in certain ways, he's going to get a great visual from behind of all that bouncing stuff going on. It's very sexy. It's vibration. It's magical. And it's something that we can do. So why are we doing it on the internet? Why are we doing it outside of marriage, outside of culture? And how it's become competitive. I think honestly, young women just don't have enough ways to be themselves and be accepted through any art form. So I would just encourage every way that we want to express ourselves: photography, art, dance, and also understand that being sexy and sensuous, women traditionally in all cultures do this for ourselves. Belly dance started in Nubia, which is the area around Sudan, and a very black part of Africa. That's where belly dance started. And it actually started with a woman dancing when a female was in labor. So there were no men there. Women belly danced for each other, and they belly danced to help a woman get through labor pains. That's how it started. It didn't start out as a dance to stimulate men or to entertain men. But once again, my main conversation here today is what happens when you take culture and turn it into art, and then it just becomes entertainment, and then you get to the point of self-exploitation. So we have to be a little bit more aware of what we're doing, of who's watching what we're doing, and whatever you're doing, because I'm going to sit here and say I'm not going to be judgmental. So whatever you're doing, if you're a bodybuilder, you show your body a lot too. Whatever you do, if you do yoga, you may show your body a lot. African dance, you may show your body a lot. And we don't tend to think about sex while we're dancing. But then later, of course, we realize other people, especially if your viewpoint is very American, you're going to see everything in a sexual way. Because we don't combine sexuality and spirituality here, nor do we have a culture to help us understand the role of those things. So we see things very sexually. There's a lot of perversion here in this country that stops us from expressing ourselves in a safe way. And I'm not putting Africa on a pedestal because I can't even go into all the problems in Africa, past, present, and future. I'm focusing on here and now. I'm not trying to say let's be somebody else or do something from the past. Let's do now, because we're actually in this amazing position where we can create our culture based on everything that we've learned, based on everything that's been turned against us, and make sure it doesn't happen again. But some things are meant for us. Like I said, Miley Cyrus can get on stage and be taught how to twerk, but it doesn't look the same on her body. So some things are part of our Africanness. They are part of our Black woman depth and spirituality. We need to express ourselves. I believe we need to figure out a way to get back to marriage, because we, as women, we have this desire to use our womanly arts. So where can we use them? Who can we show them to? Who can we share them to? We don't need to share them to everybody, but there's a bottomless pit in so much of us, in seeking attention, in competing for attention, that can never be satisfied when you're trying to play to the entire universe. And I think marriage is really a beautiful thing, because you can find somebody and channel all that towards them. And it is part of our culture for women to get together and dance. It's part of our culture to come together and do each other's makeup, teach each other, talk to each other about sex and sensuality, so that when you go back home to your man, you have a little extra juiciness that you got from being around other women. It's beautiful. I remember when I was a kid being in a hair salon and listening to the women talk. And sometimes they would just be talking about recipes. But what they would do is they would share their ideas together, and then when they went home to their husband, they had a little something extra they could bring home and share with their husband that they got from other women. So it's important for women to share womanly arts and sensuality with each other, because I think that goes a long way in what we bring home, and also having the strength and the joy and the excitement to deal with our man. Women need each other. We need each other to be sexy and sensuous. We can't all dry out. Right now we're under this, I call it the European cultural umbrella over America. And I think right now we are at one of the most repressed, muted times ever. We have to keep coming out with the art, the poetry, pushing the envelope. We really have to do it. And we can do it with dance too. However, I want to say that there's something bad about twerking, and I'm going to say it, which is that it is, one, it's a lower chakra dance. Okay, our root chakra is about survival and sex. So when you twerk, you keep all that energy down in that root chakra area. And we need to really get out of the survival and sex. We need to go up through our heart chakra, love, communication, third eye spirituality, crown chakra, in the manifestation of our true dreams and desires. I know we're all different, and what I see now so much is so many people trying to be the same. It's like we went from having 1,000 choices, be yourself, to basically fit into this box and do this or do that. So we're all cramming to do the same thing, and I really want this next generation of young ladies to be free. So I hope all of our parents out here are letting our daughters know, be free. Give your daughters the space to do and decide what they want to do, because otherwise they get crunched into these boxes. They are not ready for certain things. We are already being sexually exploited, so I would say it's a pretty big mistake to continue to exploit ourselves on purpose. So be careful about that. I have to be careful about that, because I know people may look at me in the wrong way. But I could talk for hours. Not only can I talk, but I have a killer instinct. You know, I feel I come from a bloodline that will murder you. So in a sense, I understand what I'm doing because of my age. And if you want to talk to me or judge me or find out about me, that you can, and I surround myself with protection. But I think a lot of people don't understand the power of our sensuality. We don't need to prove ourselves to anybody. We just need to love ourselves a little bit more. Keep dancing. Men keep dancing. Men keep playing the role of protecting us. We need your protection. Understand us. The thing about twerking probably that bothers me the most is that it's lower chakra, and we don't hear from these women. Now, if I watch a woman twerk and she could talk to me about her favorite book, her favorite poem, her philosophies on life, I think I might accept twerking a lot more, because I want the whole thing, and I want the whole thing from any man in my life. I want this, and I want this before I want that. You know, And I think that's what we really need to ask of our young ladies, aside from what you know about sexuality and sensuality. Who else are you? What else is going on with you? Because that's far more important. So it's the whole picture. And again, we can claim our culture. It doesn't have to be a commodity. It doesn't have to be entertainment to other people. We have to understand our culture as it is and start to rebuild it. And there's nobody stopping us. So uh, I hope that I shared a lot, but I have a lot more to share, and I really love to hear from other people what they think and how we can not judge each other, because right now we're extremely repressed. There's so much going on with Mike Brown and things in this country. It's making us actually really repress ourselves, whether we know it or not. There's psychological trauma going on right now that unless you study those things, you wouldn't recognize it. But we're really traumatized at this point in history, so we have to kind of really fight back and come alive and love each other and not judge each other. And if anything, we need the men to protect us. Peace.